Shovel Knight is a game that I feel like I kind of missed the boat on. I played the game recently for the bucket list, and while I enjoyed it quite a bit, the game's been out for a few years now, and for the most part, the review and analysis community have really picked the game dry, and I was struggling to find what I wanted to say about the game that wasn't just repeating what everyone else has said. It's already been covered extensively how the game is a clever homage to the 8-bit era while relinquishing some of the less positive traits of that decade of gaming. And it's already talked about how the game has DNA that comes from a lot of different older game sources, but it's mainly from the NES Capcom stuff, which is DuckTales and Mega Man. So I didn't want to dig too much into that, but I wanted to say something about it, and I was struggling for a long time. And then I thought, well, what about the nostalgia? Clearly the game is really trying to pull on your nostalgic heartstrings, and hey, the NES was my first gaming system, so like, maybe there's something there. But unfortunately, what I found was, while the NES was my first gaming system, most of my memories were this kind of haze of chiptunes and sprites that I didn't really concretely remember, because when I was that young, I played the games and it was just kind of this wash of memory. My really strong memories of gaming only start coming in the 16-bit era and up, so like your Super Nintendos and N64s. Those are the stories I could tell you about that I would be able to really connect nostalgically to. So on that front, while I did have an NES when I was much younger, the thing that they're going for with Shovel Knight, the look and all that, while I appreciate it, I think it's very well done, it doesn't pull me into this world of yesteryear where I could talk about, oh, makes me feel all these things. So, appreciate it, didn't really tug me in, and nothing really I wanted to talk about extensively. So, I couldn't talk about the mechanics, because those had been, discussion of that has been done to death on YouTube. And I couldn't really talk about the nostalgia because it doesn't actually hit me like some people might expect it to hit me. But there is one thing as I was playing that I realized, and it didn't hit me until the very end. And I'm going to get into some spoiler talk, so please, if you haven't played through the game, I do recommend it. But I will be spoiling some stuff at the very end, starting now. So, I playing through the game and I was thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I get to the end where you're fighting the final boss, the Enchantress, and you discover that it's actually the person that you're trying to save, which is Shield Knight. So, and this is my interpretation. I haven't dug into the lore, but just from the stuff that was saying in the game, it seems like Shield Knight actually took the power of the Tower of Fate, and she became the Enchantress. And Shovel Knight was coming to save her to turn her back to good. And you don't discover this right before the final fight, and it was so clever. And I was so surprised that it hadn't been spoiled for me before by the research that I'd done about the topic. Everyone said that it really gives more to the rescue narrative than like Princess Peach would, or just randomly saving someone, where you're saving them from themselves. And I thought that was really clever. And at that moment I realized the whole game had been building up to that. As far as at least in the way that it wanted to build up its story and lore. So you were expecting more from the ending than just oh, you saved the thing in a traditional 8-bit games. And what I mean by that is with each interaction you have, for each townsperson interaction, and for when you interact with the Order of No Quarter, each of the knight characters that you face, you get a really strong feeling of their personality just from a few lines of dialogue. And when you get that, for example, Propeller Knight or King Knight, just from speaking with him from the intro bit and the end, and maybe some stuff from the townspeople, you know that King Knight is this, as Shovel Knight put it, decadent dandy. Or the Propeller Knight is this carefree guy that just wanted to just relax and have fun. And you get that from only a few lines of dialogue, so that strong writing throughout the game, I think, is preparing you for, well, not narratively connecting you to the ending secret. It does, you're at least anticipating, oh, this is a well-written game. And I think that that's what Shovel Knight does very, very well. That hasn't been touched on a lot in other reviews. It's been touched on, but not extensively. I haven't seen a 2D platformer have this strong of a story with such little writing to it in, I don't think ever. I've never seen a game a 2D platformer that had a story that was so good told with so little. So I think that was really what I took away from Shovel Knight. It's a great game, like I said before, but I think the strongest thing is the fact that these little snippets of writing really make you care about the lore of the game, and it's obvious that the creators know that the lore is very strong in the game, because in the additional content you can actually play as some of the Order of No Quarter Knights in their own other stories. Like, I believe there's 2 prequels, and there's one where it's like an alternate thing that I'm playing through now with Plague Knight, that, again, I didn't expect to want to go further and play the downloadable content, but because of those snippets of writing, I really enjoyed the world that they had built. So that's what I really took away from Shovel Knight. Again, I'd really recommend playing it, especially for that. It's all the things that everyone else has said about how the mechanics are great, and it teaches you through play, and all those things. So it's all true. But for me, being such a platforming game veteran, I've seen all that before. I've seen it done to death, and you can get a lot of games that are great like that. What I think is unique to Shovel Knight really is the fact that it is a platforming game with a simple story that is told so well. So that's what I experienced from Shovel Knight. Again, you should definitely check it out. Thank you guys all for watching, and let me know if there's any other indie darlings that I should be checking out, and as always, later days.